Hello and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical updates. It is Wednesday, it's the 10th of September. This video is for education purpose only. There's no advice or recommendation whatsoever intended. Today we'll start talking about Novo Nordisk, the healthcare company with the weight loss product, Wegovy, big competitor to Eli Lilly, obviously. They announced this morning what has been rumored for a long time, or actually expected, that they will lay off 9,000 of their workforce. It's roughly 11-12% of the global workforce. 5,000 of them in Denmark, where it's almost 15%. And they also is slashing their guidance for the next year. So it's not been a good day for Novo, but for the share price, it has been fairly okay. We are up about 2% compared to the closing of yesterday, as we can see here. It actually opened lower, but then buyers came in throughout the morning and has continued this afternoon. If we look at it from a technical point of view, in the bigger picture, there's still negative sentiment on the RSI. It needs to close above 60 threshold to establish a bullish trend and confirm a bullish trend. Key interesting thing also to note is that during the sell-off here back in July, August, there was no divergence on the RSI, so that indicated actually we could see a lower level, but I think we have seen the worst. This is not a buy recommendation. There's still risk to the downside, especially if it takes out the lows of today, as of today at 328.55. It hasn't established the bullish trend just yet, but what you can also see here on the weekly chart, we are actually back to 2021 area, actually a little bit below that when we saw these levels the last. And I'm not going into details about I drew this pattern about a year ago, it was not popular to do that, but yeah, it was a top shoulder pattern. Anyway, moving on to the short-term picture, we need to see a close above the 371.60 to establish a bullish trend. Further confirm it will be above 409.65 around the level, so let's say 410, and we need RSI to close above 60 threshold on the daily. On the weekly, on the other hand, there's divergence on the RSI indicating a downtrend exhaustion of this massive sell-off there. So maybe we have seen the worst for Novo Nordisk. Moving on to what occurred in the market in US last night. Not really much. We were up a tad at Nasdaq 100. It was primarily done by some of the big seven or magnificent seven, but in the bigger picture, there wasn't really not much movement. It still needs to take out the previous all-time high, therefore, to extend the bullish trend, and 22,950 to the downside to establish a bearish trend and key 22,673 there. RSI did close just above 60 threshold and slightly maybe above the adjusted the lower falling trend line there, the falling trend line. So it could indicate we could see higher levels, but it is still a little bit up in the air. We are about 0.25% higher here pre-market, pushing towards that 24,000 level, and it wouldn't be surprised me if it will actually test it here. S&P 500 new all-time high close, not new all-time high, but new all-time high close. So it actually has confirmed that it has broken out of this range behavior here. RSI also above its falling trend line, and the RSI 60 indicating we could see a little bit higher levels in the coming days and weeks. So quite unusual for September that market is so fairly positive. Here we have the Dow Jones index, also new all-time high close. So we could see it pushing a little bit higher, but there's massive divergence divergence on the RSI, indicating a trend of exhaustion, bullish trend exhaustion. Moving on to the Hang Seng market in Asia this morning, a new high there, pushed higher, and I think we will see it pushing higher towards 26,600 in the coming days and weeks. We can see RSI above its falling trend line, back above 60 moving average, 60 threshold, and is likely to push higher. There is divergence, but for now, trust the trend, and it seems to be fairly strong at the moment. Nikkei, on the other hand, struggling a little bit at these just below 44,000, 43,930. I think if it takes out the spike up there at 44,190, and remember, this is the future, it's not the actual stock market, it's the future, then I think we'll see a push towards 45,000. But I need the confirmation. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it play out. EuroStoxx50, moving on to the European markets. EuroStoxx50 slightly higher today, still trying to push up and close this gap, 5,444. If it does well, then there could be further upside, potentially above 55 and 100 moving average, and they're both rising. Same picture with the 200 also rising above the cloud. So, and we are still in a positive sentiment if it gets back above 60 threshold, which will probably occur if EuroStoxx50 closes above this resistance there. Then it will further add to the bullish picture. On DAX index, struggling a little bit here below the cloud, actually negative sentiment on the RSI. So keep an eye on 23,482. If it takes out that, well, then I think we're looking at 23,000. Moving on to the FX market, we saw actually the euro dollar breaking higher here 2 days ago. Yesterday was sent back down again. RSI rejected a 60 threshold, which was key, and it was also key thing that it didn't break above, and especially on closing above 117.88, 117.90 here. That would be key here. That level and the RSI level at 60 for upside potential. Now we are back below the falling trend line again, so maybe it's not the most perfect triangle-like pattern. It is definitely not. But still keep an eye on these lines and the 115.80 support level. I will adjust it a little bit here on the 115.80. So we can see here, well, this is around that level. We have some support for a potential bearish trend establishment. The sterling dollar or cable rejected here just below 136, 135.90. So still range bound, really, and down to around 134. So still range bound. I think if it takes out a third time, the 136 or these spikes up here, then I think we'll see that move up to around 137.45, possibly higher. But I'm not quite sure that will play out actually. Something tells me it is likely to be the downside. I think the resistance here around 136 is too strong, but let's see in the coming days and weeks what scenario will play out. Euro sterling is currently testing 61.8, a retracement at 86.40. Strong support here at 86 and resistance here at 87.15. I think we could see it dipping to the 786 retracement at 86.20, and then I think we'll see a bounce, but we could also see that bounce now. So keep an eye on here the next few hours and what will play out. Positive sentiment on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels. However, there is slightly divergence on the RSI. On the yen pairs, well, the dollar yen spiked lower yesterday and looked like it was about to break barriers, but it didn't really do it. It didn't materialize. It bounced back in the last part of the session, bouncing from around the 146.25 support and just above the rising trend line. We have also the 100 moving average coming up there, adding to that support. So we are still in the cloud, so I would say neutral, and we have the 149 area here to the upper side. If it takes out the spike up there at 149.15, well, then I think we will see an uptrend being established. But for now, it is a little bit up in a positive sentiment on the RSI. No divergence indicating likely higher levels, but it hasn't materialized yet. So keep an eye on that. Euro yen got rejected, and it within few pips it was the same price level here, as you can see, just below 174, 173.90 and a bit. Snap back to 38.2 retracement, could dip lower. I think if it takes out the lows from yesterday, we will see it down here in the region around 171.30, 171.20, where we have the 61.8 retracement, and we have some support here, and then I think we will see it bouncing again. So the bigger picture, we are actually range bound on Euro yen. Seems like that's the name of the game for a lot of these FX pairs. On the other hand, we have Aussie yen once again testing resistance there around 97.45. This previous peak there. Can it actually get free from it and push towards 98.60, possibly up to 99.40 area is then in the card? I believe we will see that. We have moving averages 55 and 21 moving higher. We have 200 coming around. We have 100 also rising. So Aussie yen seems to be on the to the other side, as long as we stay above 96.20. The sterling yen really around this 200. That is key. I think actually I will adjust it to 200. So this is I know we closed above, but it really every time we are around that, it's being knocked down. So maybe if it takes out that 200 spot 55, this spike here, then it can get this traction to the other side. But I'm not confident then at 197.85 to the downside, a key support area. Aussie dollar, well, just below previous peak and 138.2 projection at 66.25 from this correction here. We have it's not really a double bottom. I know we say that we have two bottoms, yeah, but it's not really much it has to reverse from. However, the RSI can still be used for these what do you call it, this resistance and potential price targets. We are above all moving average, and they are slightly rising. So and also the RSI in a positive sentiment after closing above 60 threshold, indicating likely higher levels. Dollar Canada slowly crawling higher, and I think we will see it to 786 retracement fairly short, but also 139.25 up here. I think we will still see it towards 140. No divergence on the RSI, that is bullish or positive sentiment. I think we'll see 140 area being reached within a couple of weeks. Sterling Canada testing previous peak here. I think that will also push higher positive sentiment on the RSI. Now again back above 60 threshold, indicating likely higher levels towards 189. Swiss franc. Let's zoom in. Testing this 93.15 support. I actually expect it to be a minor support, but it seems to hold quite nicely. And so it did dip below yesterday, but positive sentiment still remains on the RSI, so it's a little bit up in the air. But if it does close below 40 threshold, then we'll see much lower levels on Euro Swiss. The dollar Swiss. So what does it do? Yeah, it closed below there. No, not dollar Swiss. Sorry. Where are we? There is dollar Swiss. That was the dollar index we looked at. I could see there was something wrong. So the dollar index, 79.10 around here at level seems to be a little bit of support, but we are in a bearish trend, negative sentiment. I think we will see it sliding lower towards 79, 78 here in the coming days and weeks, but fairly strong support there. So no divergence. So let's see, but I think we'll see a little bit of bounce, but we could have another go at these lows there. The dollar index did close below here on the on the 8th of September, the support there, and now we bounce back. But we are actually in a bearish trend confirmed. So not confirmed, sorry, established, but not confirmed because RSI is still above 40 threshold, hasn't closed below. So let's see about it. I think if it takes out the lows from yesterday at 97.22, then we'll see a push also to take out this low here and likely lower levels. Gold, what a hell of a ride! What a hell of a ride! Spiked higher yesterday, but is now in a little bit correction phase. It looked like that, but it seems to be gaining, regaining strength and pushing higher. And I think we will see it higher. There is currently no divergence on the other side, but it's massively stretched just below 80. I still believe we can see gold pushing higher in the coming days and weeks, but I would expect some corrections kicking in here fairly soon. But we could see a move up to 3,715 before that. That occurs possibly up to 37.35 in this region here. Very strong trend indeed on gold. Silver is lagging a little bit on the other hand. I mean, yeah, we are in a bullish trend, but it's not that convincing. But I think it will catch up to some extent towards the 42.5, 43.5 fairly soon. The platinum seems like it has a little bit problem, you know, really getting its mojo back and push higher. Still believe we will see that. Positive sentiment still on the RSI. There is divergence on these peaks here, indicating trend exhaustion, but I still think we'll see platinum pushing higher in the coming weeks. Above the cloud, positive sentiment, and if it takes out the spike up there at 1447, then I think we'll see that push towards 1550, 1600. Copper, on the other hand, is still struggling a bit. We should be happy about that, but we are in a slightly rising trend. But it needs to close above 465 to really take off towards 495. If it takes out the lower rising trend line, it could be a sign of downtrend resuming. Moving on to the energy market, yeah, we have WTI crude oil still in this falling, quite wide actually, falling trend channel. I still believe we could see it down to around $60, but the pace is not that fast. So I would be cautious a little bit, but it really needs to get back above at least 66.03 to establish a bullish trend, and I think that will still be a stretch and fragile. Brent bounced from just above $65, and that would be key to hold. If it doesn't hold, well, then we're looking at 62.55. But you can see we have a kind of a double bottom pattern here after this sell-off. So if it moves above the peak of that at 69.53, then we're likely to see Brent crude oil up here in the region around 72.25 up to 73 and a bit. European nat gas, well, keeps bouncing slowly. I don't think it will take out 33.90, and I especially don't think it will close above. But if it does, then we suddenly have a bullish trend established, and RSI could then also close above 65, so which would further confirm it. But I think we will see a sliding lower here in the coming days. But again, if you are short, then I'll be careful on my stop up there. US nat gas rejected here at 319, and it seems to be setting back a little bit. So unless it can get back up there, it's 320. If it can close above 320, then there could be much further upside potential to wait for. Other than that, it does look like a top and reversal, RSI being rejected 60 threshold, so I think we'll see a push back to around 284, which is a 61.8 retracement. Let's move on to the final ones, the the yields, we have EU. Sorry, forgot that. Now I'm jumping ahead of myself. Do apologize. Here we are. US 10-year Treasury yields. That's where we is. US 10-year Treasury yields. Bearish trend. No divergence on the RSI, which is also negative. Indicating to further downside. I think we could see 4% being tested there on the 10-year US 10-year Treasury yields from and now we get to it. The EU 10-year seems to be bouncing a little bit here from below the rising trend line, but we could still see it trying to test the 260. I'm not quite sure it will do that. The RSI is bouncing off the 40 threshold, so still in a positive sentiment, but it is quite fragile with RSI declining, market moved higher, and now it seems to have reversed a little bit. The UK 10 finding support there at the 55 moving average, and could bounce from here if it doesn't take out the lows from yesterday. Then we could see a bounce towards 470, 475. And Japan, well, yesterday we saw this bullish engulfing here, so we actually have a bottom and reversal pattern in place quite nicely there on the UK 10-year. And we could see it bouncing further in the coming week. So the range would be 153 to the downside and 165 to the upside. I think we'll see it bouncing a little bit further. Whether it can actually establish a bullish trend is debatable, but it is not unlikely. Let's see here. I can also draw a trend line from there to there, so we actually have a dual trend, which is quite interesting. If it starts breaking that, well, then it could be early sign of further downside potential. Bitcoin, on the other hand, basically just sideways, so it's still 107,265 support. Ethereum, come on, there we are. Ethereum, still 4,066. That is the really key support for Ethereum. All right, that was it. Sorry for the very quick walkthrough, but I have a very limited time at the moment due to some courses I'm taking. So have a nice day and happy charting.